She only came to buy a gift. A quiet afternoon, a crowded mall, and one black woman with a red shirt and a black purse, until a single glance turned her into a suspect. Within minutes, whispers spread, radios crackled, and hands reached for cuffs. What began as casual shopping would spiral into humiliation, violence, and a truth her accusers could never have imagined. Because the woman they tried to arrest wasn't just another shopper, she was one of their own. And what happened next would shake the entire department. For Danielle Rivers, Saturday afternoons were her escape. After a long week serving as a field instructor at the police academy, she finally had a few quiet hours to herself. The Riverstone Mall was crowded as always. Families laughing, kids darting between stores, the smell of fresh pretzels drifting through the air. For once, Danielle wasn't a uniform, a badge, or a headline. She was just another woman looking for something nice to buy for her niece's birthday. Her red shirt caught the soft light as she browsed through the jewelry store display, fingers tracing the sparkle of silver pendants. The clerk offered a tight smile, one that never reached her eyes. Danielle had seen that look before, one that said, "You don't belong here." Still, she kept calm, used to swallowing discomfort in public spaces. That was something every black officer learned early, how to navigate suspicion, even in silence. Outside, 2 security guards lingered near the entrance, pretending to check the directory. Their radios whispered faint static. Danielle noticed them in the reflection of the glass counter. A small twitch in her jaw was the only sign she gave that she'd seen them. It wasn't the first time she'd been watched while shopping, but something about their stance, their focus, told her this was different. One guard raised his radio to his mouth. The other nodded and turned his gaze directly toward her. Danielle sighed quietly, her heart tightening with a familiar ache. 20 years of service, and still, this. She tried to shake it off, reminding herself she was off duty. Just another Saturday, just another misunderstanding waiting to happen. But deep down, she knew better. The moment the guard started walking toward her, Danielle felt that quiet peace slip away. Something was about to go very, very wrong. Danielle pretended not to notice the guards at first. She focused on the silver bracelets glinting under the soft store light, willing herself to stay calm. But calmness was a fragile thing, especially when you could feel eyes burning into your back. "Excuse me, ma'am." The voice came sharp, rehearsed. The taller guard, Miller, stepped inside, his partner Henderson hovering by the door. The air shifted. Even the soft jazz in the boutique seemed to hold its breath. Danielle turned slowly. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone controlled. "We've had reports of suspicious behavior," Miller said, his hand resting near his belt radio. "We'll need to check your bag." A dozen shoppers turned to look. The manager, a middle-aged woman with nervous eyes, hovered behind the counter, pretending to tidy a tray of earrings. Danielle's pulse ticked faster. "Suspicious behavior?" she repeated quietly. "For looking at jewelry?" Miller's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, please cooperate. Let's not make this difficult." Her instincts as an officer kicked in. Measure the threat. De-escalate if possible. But this wasn't a traffic stop or a domestic call. This was prejudice, repackaged as procedure. "I'm not handing over my property without cause," she said. "If something's missing, you can review your security footage." That word, footage, made the guard hesitate for half a second before doubling down. "You think we don't know what we saw?" he snapped. "Now open the bag." Every eye in the store was on her now. Phones discreetly raised. The hum of whispers rippled through the aisles. Danielle felt the weight of years pressing down. Years of teaching recruits about constitutional rights, about restraint, about justice. And here she was, being accused like any other black woman with a purse too nice for their comfort. "I said, open the bag," Miller barked, stepping forward. Before Danielle could respond, a police radio crackled from outside. Reinforcements had arrived. Officer Bradley Shaw entered the store, badge gleaming, hand already hovering over his cuffs. His smirk said it all. This was entertainment to him. "What's the problem here?" he asked, glancing at Danielle like she was a headline waiting to happen. "She refuses to cooperate," Miller reported. "Possible theft, resisting store security," Shaw nodded. "Figures." Then louder, for the audience now gathering in the doorway, he said, "Ma'am, if you're innocent, you got nothing to hide." "Let's see the bag." Danielle took a slow breath. "Officer, I suggest you proceed carefully. You're making a serious mistake." "Is that a threat?" he mocked. "Hands behind your back." Her heart pounded, but her posture remained firm. "That's unlawful detention without probable cause." He didn't care. None of them did. Shaw grabbed her wrist and twisted it hard, forcing her against the glass display case. A collective gasp echoed around them. Jewelry rattled. The manager flinched but said nothing. Phones were everywhere now, filming, documenting, bearing witness. Danielle could have resisted, could have ended it in seconds with the training she had. But she didn't. She let them cuff her, because some fights meant more when endured publicly. "Keep filming," she said quietly, to no one in particular. "Don't stop," Shaw led her toward the exit, his voice loud and smug. Another shoplifter off the streets. But the truth was already spreading. Videos were uploading, comments were forming, and somewhere in the crowd, a teenager whispered, "Isn't that Captain Rivers from the Academy?" That's when everything started to unravel. The mall's bright corridor turned into a tunnel of echoes and disbelief. Danielle's wrists ached beneath the cuffs, but her composure never cracked. Phones followed her every step as Officer Shaw paraded her toward the exit, feeding off the spectacle. Every click of a camera shutter felt like another blow to her dignity. "Another thief caught red-handed," Shaw announced, his voice carrying through the crowd. "Maybe this will teach a lesson," the crowd murmured, some shaking their heads, others whispering. Danielle raised her chin, her voice calm but cutting through the noise. "The only lesson here," she said, "is how easily power turns blind." Shaw shoved her forward, but she didn't resist. He opened the door to the parking lot, the sunlight flashing off his badge. Irony at its brightest. The air was thick with silence and shame. Dozens of people recorded as he pushed her against the patrol car. "Before you go any further," Danielle said clearly, "you might want to check my identification." He scoffed. "Save it for booking." "It's in my left pocket," she said steadily. "Go ahead." Something in her tone, controlled, authoritative, made him hesitate. Still, with a sneer, he reached into her jacket. What he pulled out stopped him cold. The gold badge shimmered under the afternoon sun. The murmurs turned to gasps. "She's police," someone whispered. Another voice rose. "She's a captain!" Shaw's grip faltered. Miller's face drained of color. Henderson stepped back entirely, eyes wide. Danielle's voice was calm, but edged with fury. "I train officers like you. I write the very policy you just broke." The words sliced through the air. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some shouting in outrage. Cameras caught every detail. The cuffs, the badge, the frozen faces of men who had just humiliated one of their own. "Take those off," she ordered. Her tone was no longer a request. It was command. For the first time that day, Shaw didn't know what to do. His authority had collapsed under the weight of truth. Trembling, he fumbled for his keys and released her wrists. Danielle rubbed the red marks on her skin, looked at the cameras and said quietly, "Now, everyone gets to see what justice really looks like." The crowd erupted again, but this time it wasn't out of curiosity. It was fury. By the next morning, the video of Danielle's arrest had already spread across the country. Millions had seen it. The cuffs, the smirk, the badge glinting under sunlight. News anchors replayed the footage on loop, and the department she had served for 20 years was suddenly under investigation. Within 48 hours, the mall's management released a statement calling it a tragic misunderstanding. The security company suspended both guards pending review. Officer Shaw was placed on administrative leave, though his apology never came. But none of it erased the memory of that glass wall, the stairs, or the sting of those cuffs against her skin. Danielle returned to her office a week later. Her fellow officers avoided eye contact. Whispers trailed her down every hallway. She could have stayed silent, taken the easy way out, but she didn't. She filed formal complaints, shared her experience with national outlets, and became a face for something much bigger than herself. Her calm defiance that day had ignited a movement. Across the state, lawmakers called for mandatory anti-bias training for private security. Protesters gathered outside Riverstone Mall, demanding justice. And for the first time in her career, Danielle wasn't just enforcing the law, she was redefining what justice meant. But behind every headline and every viral clip was a deeper truth. Danielle's story wasn't rare, it was simply recorded. For every video like hers, there were thousands more unseen, unheard, unacknowledged. Each moment of humiliation, each false accusation, each life scarred by a system that still judged color before character. Standing at her niece's birthday party weeks later, Danielle watched her family laugh and realized something powerful. Resilience isn't silence. It's the choice to stand even when the world tries to push you down. Her story reminded millions that dignity shouldn't depend on a badge, a title, or a camera. It should depend on humanity. And maybe the real question isn't what happened to Captain Danielle Rivers. It's how many more will it take before the world finally believes her. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for tomorrow's story that needs to be heard.